For more great retail real estate content, like, share, and subscribe.
Let's talk about why retail leases are so complicated. People are often surprised to learn that it takes a lot longer to lease a retail space and negotiate a retail lease than it does to actually buy a home. Uh, but that's for a good reason. So let's think about it for a minute. If you're purchasing a home, person A, the seller, is going to transfer title to the home and legal right to use it to person B, the buyer. They negotiate a contract, real estate changes hands, walks away. Person A, person B, buyer and seller have no more relationship. That's not how it works, obviously, with a commercial lease, right? You've got person A, who's a landlord, and person B, who's a tenant, and these two have a relationship for the whole term of the lease. And so the job of the lease document then is to govern how they're going to work together with their two different interests in this property. Landlord is property owner and tenant is property user. And this property user is going to be using the property for years. Often commercial leases are 10 years, sometimes they're more. And the way that they're going to use it is going to be pretty all-encompassing. It's going to include construction, changing what the space looks like, maybe changing how the space functions. You're going to be seeing customers in here. You're going to be marketing the space. So there really is a lot for the lease to sort of cover in its purview. And the whole goal of this document is to set the terms under which these two parties are going to interact. What are the rights of the landlord? What are the rights of the tenant? What are the obligations of the landlord? What are the obligations of the tenant? This lease is going to try to predict the future to a certain extent. That way, every time something unforeseeable comes up, you don't need to be, hashing it out. The idea is answer all those questions and set clear expectations at the outset so that everybody knows whose responsibility it is when, say, a pipe breaks. Now, if all of that wasn't already complicated enough, it is also possible that over the term of the lease, which again can be years, the landlord might sell the property. The property might change hands. And when that happens, the lease survives. So now one of the two parties has changed, but the document governing the relationship is going to be the same. So it's got to be a document that is strong enough that it isn't based on, well, landlord and tenant, that guy's my uncle and we have a great relationship. It's not going to matter when that lease gets passed on to someone else. As if that wasn't complicated enough, the tenant can also change, right? Let's say it's a coffee company and they get acquired by a big competitor. That competitor is now going to be on the lease. So both parties can change. And the idea is that the deal and that the terms of the deal will not. So this is why we spend legal fees and time and attention in the beginning to negotiate this lease. To a certain extent, the purpose of the lease is to prevent future disputes that would end in litigation, right? We spend legal fees up front to avoid spending a lot more legal fees and a lot more drama and headaches down the road, litigating issues that could have been resolved right from the outset. So we can't say it enough, but the decisions you make in your lease are some of the most important decisions you're going to make as a business owner. And it is kind of crazy that if this is your first bricks and mortar location, you're going to be making all these decisions before you even open your doors. It's one of the very first things that you're going to do. But these decisions are going to sort of live with you throughout the term of your lease. And so we just can't emphasize enough that it is worth the time and attention spent up front to make sure you really understand it. The temptation to just push through and sign it because you want to get open can be really strong at times. But you're not wrong to take a beat, to ask questions, to make sure you really understand it, to ask different experts and ask different friends in the industry, sort of if anything feels uncomfortable to you, because this document is your Bible for as long as you're in that space. It is your judge and jury that is going to set all the rules for what is allowed and what's not allowed. So take your time, work with a lawyer, check with your broker, make sure you really understand it, because a lease is a big, big deal.